We're so happy to have you here as participants and as panelists. It's such an honor to be surrounded by great, amazing people that are already working to tackle so many sustainable development goals. And I think it's going to be so admirable that we have some time today to discuss about your projects, how you have been dealing with the COVID-19 recovery, and also the work that you have been doing, because it's very, very vital to bring visibility to all these actions that at the very end are best practices and for it. So welcome all to this CSOC Decide event. It's a side event from the United Nations, from the Commission on Social Development. And this side event is called Innovative Local Services and Empowerment for the Achievements of SDGs 2, 3, and 4 in post-COVID. So that's basically what we're gonna start discussing in this panel, how the different organizations and leaders here have been tackling either the SDGs 2, 3, or 4, or the intersectionality of them. And just to be clear, sustainable development goals are referring to ending hunger, bringing health and well-being, and also bringing quality education. So it's going to be exciting to have a conversation with you guys, and also for the participants and attendees out there. Just want you to know that this is an opportunity to connect, to learn about the best practices that we have here, and to share your opinions, your heart, and see this platform as it is, a platform where you can use your voice, expand your opinions, and connect with people. So with no further more to say, I'm gonna pass this microphone to my co-moderator. Oh, wait, I haven't introduced myself. I'm so sorry. My name is Macias, and I am the UN representative for ManUp campaign, an organization that's dedicated to end gender-based violence, and it's also dedicated to bring gender equality at every level possible. As in my career here, I've been working to advocate from the United Nations sphere, but also in government and local services to bring gender equality education at all levels and bring international law actualization to make this happen around. And I've been lucky enough to be co-moderating this panel with my friend here, Kirin Taylor, who's the representative for the Peace International political party and so many other things in her curriculum. But with no further more, I'm gonna now pass the ball to Kirin. Please, it's all your here.
Thank you so much, Michelle. And I'm absolutely honored to be moderating this panel. And I think this is my 4th Commission for Social Development. So it feels very different than the other 3, especially, being virtual and hosting our own event. So I have worked with all of the panelists and organizations represented here today in some capacity. So I'm really happy and excited to see everyone together with one platform. This is also, as well as an educational event for the international community, an opportunity for all of you to connect and see the parallels between your work on the local level and take each other and learn best practices from each other. So I do want to just give a little bit of background on the Commission for Social Development for anyone who's watching and needs to know a little bit more about that. So the Commission for Social Development is one of 8 commissions that are part of the United Nations Economic and Social Council. So the Social Council is something that's considered an organ of the United Nations. So one of the principal features, and there's 5 others of those, including the Security Council that everyone would be aware of. However, the Economic and Social Council does a lot of work in guiding international development and being conscious of, obviously, social development as the theme of the conference is. So this is our opportunity as non-governmental people to try to guide that development a little bit more and give our own influence. And this year, the priority theme is inclusive and resilient recovery from COVID-19 for sustainable livelihoods, well-being, and dignity for all, eradicating poverty and hunger in all its forms and dimensions to achieve the 2030 agenda. So that was a little bit long. And to be honest, I thought the title of our panel is a little bit long as well. But in order to really encapsulate what we're talking about today, what we're doing is really highlighting the innovative local services and empowerment that are what is going to actually achieve sustainable development. Because we can talk about it all day as we're doing now, but it's really those local actions and partnerships that make sustainable development happen. And I'm really glad to see that hunger is being highlighted in this session and at the intersection with well-being and education, because that is such an important issue that affects the livelihood of every person. So I think that's enough of an introduction, but I will say as well that, as part of civil society, it's really important that we are able to give our voices into governmental proceedings and into international affairs. So, however many people are actually watching or will receive this record, this is an important contribution to social development. So thank you all for being here today. From around the world, we have Kenya, Mexico, Nigeria, USA represented today. So let's go ahead and pass it back to Michelle to introduce our first panelist.
Well, thank you so much. And just to say, it's an incredible pleasure to introduce our following panelist. She's co-national from Mexico, representing Mexico, and not only Mexico, but the powerful women around the world. So our next panelist is going to be Sylvia Hernández Mortera, and she has a degree in international relations. She has 12 years of experience in the social sector in topics such as community development, human rights, international agendas, volunteer strategies, fundraising, and over the past 10 years, she has collaborated in the Hunger Project Mexico in different areas, coordinating the area of social service and volunteering, and she has been National Operations Coordinator and is currently the head of the local advocacy, where her role is to generate alliances with different actors in spaces, municipal and state, for the implementation of strategic actions that promote community participation, community development, gender equality, participatory democracy, among others. Sylvia has promoted actions related to the operation of projects in the community sphere, accompanying communities and local initiatives aimed at local development. On the other hand, she has been part of led advocacy processes at the local and international levels, promoting the participation of communities and local actors in such spaces. As you all could hear, she has an amazing curriculum, amazing experiences that she's gonna bring to the table today. So with no further more to say, Sylvia, take it, it's all yours.
Muchas gracias, Michelle. Thank you, Michelle, for this introduction. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much. It's really a pleasure for me to be here representing the Hunger Project. So just to talk a little bit about the Hunger Project, around the world, we at the Hunger Project are working to end world hunger. And it's important to note that I say end, because when you are ending hunger, rather than mitigating it, you take a different set of actions. And we work with people in rural areas of Africa, Latin America, South Asia to take community-led action that builds resilience, autonomy, and self-reliance. And here in Mexico, particularly, we also work for a rural and indigenous Mexico free from hunger, malnutrition, and extreme poverty, accompanying the leadership of rural and indigenous women, and by creating effective partnerships with local governments. It is important also to highlight that when we talk about hunger, we don't talk only about the scarcity of food, but we also talk about the lack of democracy. And also when we talk about poverty, we are talking about this denial of the human rights and dignity. And this is why our gender-focused community-led development model focuses on working together to create visions, objectives, and local priorities where the local voices are the guide. They are the ones that decide and recognize their priorities. We are talking also about priorities rather than necessities that need to be attended. And with and also this process with this gender-focused community-led development model also is sustained by the local strengths. And when we talk about local strengths, it has to do with capacities, knowledge, resources, and leadership, focusing again on strengthening, not developing, because we already know that these all capacities, this all leadership. So it's not like we have to create from zero. It's also recognizing what is at the local level and these all capacities that are there. And also about the gender-focused community-led development model, we are part also of a movement that has to do with this community-led development view. It's not only one organization talking about it, it's around 75 international NGOs, 1,500 local organizations talking about this. So it's about how people need to be in the center of all of these conversations, and our role is to accompany people to see what is missing for them to fulfill their visions and their objectives towards self-reliance processes, where their first steps is provoking mindset shifts, breaking with the idea that that particularly for rural and indigenous communities, the idea that historically has been there, that they and that they already believe sometimes that they need to be passive instead of the main actors to transform their context and to change the power dynamics. So this is why also gender-focused community-led development is focused on creating systematic changes instead of short-term projects. And one part, of course, is how people will address their priorities in their communities, but also how it transcends towards the role as active citizens, promoting participatory local democracy and good governance. So it's not just about, when we talk about hunger and poverty, that has to do with one of the two SDGs that I will also talk a little bit more in a few seconds about the other SDGs that the intersectionality that you were saying. Also, one of our pillars is about women's leadership, the importance of women being in the center of the decision-making processes in the local, but all in the private and the public space. And when we talk about that, we need to talk about economic, body, and decision-making autonomy, and what does that represent for women in rural contexts, in indigenous contexts, where there is a lot of violence when they want to participate. What happens? It's not just violence with the institutions, but with their families, what the reputation for them means. So it's not just about women, it's changing the relationship with men, the roles that they can play, and changing this mindset about women and men roles, and how it's present in all spaces, with local authorities, but within the family, but within the community. And also to know that the other challenges that women have when talking about development, the language challenges, the access to justice. So it's not just, and also the part where it is said that the women are the main responsibles for food, or the main responsibles for creating this, taking care of the family, and how does that also not let them participate in other spaces. So with that also, as I was telling with the other SDGs, as you have seen, I have talked about poverty, about hunger, about gender. And the other part, I would like also to highlight this part of hunger, that when talking about hunger here in Mexico, it's also talking about malnutrition. It's talking about the quality of food, the cultural relevance of the food. Is also talking about food sovereignty rather than food security. The right to decide what we consume, what we produce, where this food comes from, and how it affects, how these structural dynamics affect the local farmers, the small scale farmers, and how are those dynamics creating this malnutrition and not considering food sovereignty. And also understanding that this is not a recipe, and how it will work, and how the program and how some action is placed in a context will not work the same in an indigenous rural context, for example, in the northern part of the country and in the southern part of the country. So that is why that is so important to talk about local context. The more local, the better would be the way how to face it, because the local voices will be the ones leading.
Sylvia, you
And
have
also
one more
about
minute.
the SD. Perfect, thank you. And also talking about partnerships, the importance also with the SDGs, the importance to know that it's not about one organization, it's not about one government, it's not about one sector doing something. It's about all the stakeholders creating these enabling environments for the people to have the voices. It's not just, oh, come on, let's have someone talk. It's how we will create these environments for the people to participate. And with the COVID situation, what has happened, particularly for indigenous and rural communities, the main impact has been particularly within the income opportunities. It's not just about health, because they are really far away. So how the disease spreads, it's slower, but the income has been the main impact. But it has been a challenge that has highlighted a lot more inequalities, but also has been an opportunity to see how local knowledge and practices have been the main response. For example, local medicine, local plants that has been used to strengthen the immune system, and it has also been the opportunity for explore new ways to connect, to use technology, but without leaving aside the digital gap. There are a lot of opportunities, but we have to continue highlighting these gaps that are there, that if we do not continue saying the importance to close those gaps, nothing will change. So this is like the big review of what we have been doing, how we talk about hunger and poverty and the intersectionality with all the other SDGs, and the main importance of women being in the center also of these local decisions in the public and the private space. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Sylvia. That was really illuminating. And I think that a lot of your points just demonstrate the strong model that the Hunger Project has in terms of community-led approaches. I really like the idea of food sovereignty over food security, because when we are talking about innovation and empowerment, it's really important that people are involved in that decision-making process and engagement around what they're eating, rather than just fulfilling a need, as you said. I'd also point out that her comments on the gender dynamics in society, as well as good governance relating to food, is something that we have to keep exploring and be aware of in approaches to services related to food, and especially this concept of strengthening what exists there in that context. What are those parts of the community that are already flourishing and are already achieving, breaking the patterns and trying to strengthen those versus building new things is such a great approach. So thank you so much for your comments. And I am excited to introduce now Eric Godia, who is a good friend of mine, and I'm so glad you're able to be here today, able to continue contributing to educating the international community about your community in Kenya. So Eric Godia was born and raised in Mukuru slum, Nairobi City, County, Kenya. At 11 years old, he started training in acrobatics and traditional dance, which helped him to travel to several countries. By visiting these countries, he was inspired to help children in Nairobi slums access better education and also social amenities to develop their talents. He has a certificate in community development, His work experience has included being a peer trainer and child social support officer at Hope Worldwide Kenya, a community mobilizer at Nairobi People Settlements Networks, project officer at Mukuru Slums Development Project, and he has also had leadership positions in several community-based organizations, including Mukuru Youth Performing Arts Group, which he founded. Eric participates in social activism for children to live better lives in informal settlements and mentors children in talent management. So thank you so much for being here today, Eric. I give you the floor, and just know we're very grateful for you being here and sharing your expertise.
Thank you, everyone, and sorry for the small inch, which was a technical issue, but I've sorted out. Kirin has assisted me in sorting out. And for now, I'm happy again. And good morning to people who are in the West, and good afternoon to people who are in Middle East, and also good evening to people who are in East Africa. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and thank you for the participants, and also the committee deciding to give me a chance to talk about the SDG 2, 3, and 4 regarding what our group has been doing, our community-based organization has been doing. As Kirin she has introduced me, I don't need to introduce myself again. I'll just go straight to my presentation and share what our Mukuru Youth Performing Arts has been doing during this time of pandemic of corona, during this time of this global pandemic which came up, the coronavirus. So as Mukuru Youth Performing Arts, we started actually, we found it actually in 2014, but previously I've been working in several community-based organizations. But during, we remember very well, we had MDGs when the UN came up with them. If I remember very well, there were 8 of them. And the UN knew that some of these cannot be achieved, so they came up with SDGs. And the 17 SDGs, you may realize non-governmental organizations and community-based organizations. Most of all these SDGs, the 17 SDGs, most of organizations are working actually to achieve this. And during this pandemic era, during the pandemic duration, most of the things happened. And these actually shaped the organizations, especially as people are working in the community-based organizations, that there are things we need to achieve or we need to do as community-based organizations. And this we could not do in isolation. We tried to the NGOs and also the government. So it has been a very challenging, but for Mukuru Performing, these are the things which we did and we are continuing with, because our organization is actually purely in talent development and making sure that the children at the slum get proper education. Proper education by meaning accessing almost everything which is needed by in the slums, not just a quality and proper education. So the second SDG, Zero Hunger. What did Mukuru Youth Performing Art did during this time? What we did, we worked together with the community-based organization, especially those organizations which were actually in regard of, you remember most of people lost their daily income, and there was a lot of confusion during the time this coronavirus was announced. globally. So most of people lost their job, and there was that confusion, what shall we do? What? And most of government came up with regulations and actually making sure that people are not moving out and people lost their jobs. So through our networks, we try to work with we worked with non-governmental organizations, actually the NGOs, with the local administration, the government. So we made sure that at least in our community, we link most of the families to get food, because that was the biggest challenge. Because the pandemic, it's already here, everyone is panicking, no food, people are not working. So we worked with several organizations. We networked actually with several organizations, making sure that to get those families which can not afford a meal. So what we did, actually, in terms of numbers, we actually linked almost 5,000 families, 5 to 10,000 families, because there's a certain NGO which came up with a food program which will assist actually this family on a monthly basis. You give a family a package of food which will assist at least they can feed their families twice a day, just get 2 meals per day. So it was, we can say it was at least successful, because through the leadership of Mukuru with Performing Arts, we made sure that we link most of the families which are not only in our group, in our community-based group, but the families which are within Mukuru. So we linked almost 5 to 10,000 families. We couldn't manage the number because the demand was high, and people who wanted to support were few. So we linked 5,000 families. When I say family, it's the entire family, like my house with the entire family. So I linked that family at least to get a meal, even if they will just get to eat just twice per day. Because in Africa, there was a lot of panic. The people lost their jobs. Until now, people have not even get their jobs. And when I say people lost their job, that includes even me. I lost my job at that time. But because of the funding, because even the donor said you cannot do ABC. So that's what we did as a group, because most of these objectives, community-based organization in Kenya, they actually formed because of achieving SDGs. And you will find their objectives are in line with all these SDGs. And most of us, if you look at SDG from SDG number 1 to number 11, our group actually does that. So it was easy for this time to link our groups with that. Then in regard to, and this program actually proceeded until last year.
Eric, you have 1 minute. Excuse me, one minute.
The SDG number 3, our group actually, it's the issue of good health and well-being. For our group, that's our basic need, because when people are mentally, when we train them, actually it reduces the stress and all of that. So that's what we did as a group. And for SDG number 4, equality in education. Actually, our group has worked with several organizations to make sure that our kids, and even Kirin knows this, that we usually advocate for quality education, so that kids can, where you go to school, the school is actually, you can access almost everything which kids want. And also we worked with several primary schools, in secondary schools and colleges in our area. And that's what we did from that time. And we made sure that everything could work the way we wanted. So in a summary, that's what we have been doing as a group, and we are continually looking for partners who can make sure we achieve all these SDGs. So that, thank you everyone, and thank you for listening. If there are questions, maybe, or clarification which are needed, I can just answer them. But thank you for everyone for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eric. Thank you for being here and making time for us again and for sharing your marvelous work. I can say for myself that I've always been a fan of your arts and the empowerment and education you give to children. And just to say that we appreciate you being here and we admire the work that you do. I believe that this platform is the perfect platform to connect with other people that are focusing their projects also in bringing that food security, which is so important. And it has been so vital since the COVID-19 landed to bring that relief to families and communities. So thank you so much for sharing. Please don't doubt in reaching out to the projects that are gonna be presenting, because I'm sure like this could be a stepping stone to create more projects that bring that sustainability, that security, and that support to actually achieve the sustainable development goals, which you mentioned that is so important. And I'm so happy that you're like already working between the first and the 11 sustainable development goals that are a lot of sustainable development goals. So it's amazing to hear that you're practicing that intersectionality and that you're actually have been able to help so many families in Kenya. And thank you for participating. And I also want to thank the next speaker, Christian Heiden, and to present him as well. Uh, Christian Heiden is the founder and director of innovation at LEVO International. And LEVO International is a social enterprise aimed at creating and leveraging innovative food security solutions to strengthen the communities. Christian founded LEVO as a teenager and has led LEVO over the last 5 years to develop affordable, simplified hydroponics in rural Haiti. LEVO focuses on the hyper-local approach, working closely with local leaders to craft program strategy and implementation, whether here in the US or in Haiti. So thank you, Christian. The floor is all yours. Please go ahead and present your marvelous work.
Thank you. So LEVO International, we started it as really a food security focused organization, right? So starting with the second development goal of zero hunger. The aim was we saw that hunger is kind of that essential building block where you need to solve it in order to solve the other many struggles and challenges that communities face. But it also presents an opportunity to use food security solutions to create things like quality education and economic opportunity for local populations. And so LEVO back in 2016 began working with a technology called simplified hydroponics, which is essentially hydroponic farming, which is farming without soil, which creates a highly sustainable and environmentally friendly approach. It uses less than 90% of the water of traditional agriculture while boosting the yield and reducing the space required, making it really ideal for urban environments as well as arid and climates and areas where there's a lack of quality soil and irrigation. In particular, that was rural Haiti, where we started. And so we developed a program revolving around family-based hyper-local approach and an additive partnership approach. And so what LEVO does is we work with local organizations on the ground and community leaders on the ground to identify the major food security issues that a community may face and use our technology, simplified hydroponics, as a solution in those specific communities and tailor it to the community's needs. In Haiti, that looks like it's pretty straightforward. We're providing a simplified hydroponics to families, households in particular. We do that in a couple different ways, but primarily it's providing the technology either subsidized or for free to families. And basically what that does is it provides a year-round source of food production to households which largely lack the access to both water and arable land that they would require to grow vegetables. And so this technology provides the individual family, the household, an opportunity to grow produce for not only their families but also for market. And so we're emphasizing the importance of creating local, strong, sustainable food ecosystems where families have the ability to grow for themselves and for their family, for their family's income. In the face of the pandemic, LEVO continued to work and expand in Haiti, but we also emphasized the United States in urban settings where we recognized a high level of food insecurity and a weakness of the food system through shortages and then the increased unemployment and people having lack of access to fresh produce. And so we kind of applied the same exact model that we use in Haiti. We brought the lessons that we learned in Haitian communities and applied it, that family-based hyperlocal approach here in the United States. And so we built a network of partners in Connecticut in urban centers and created programs, both educational and just community gardens and household gardeners, and provided families and organizations with simplified hydroponics and built that network. This year, we're launching a whole new approach to urban farming and some sustainable farming. We're working with several hundred families in North Hartford, which is one of the most impoverished urban communities in the United States, and providing them with hydroponics. We're aggregating that produce, working with local organizations and local leaders on the ground, and we're actually selling it not just within the community, but outside of the community into higher income communities where we can create a sustainable revenue stream for families in North Hartford, and creating a model where heavily resourced and traditionally advantaged communities can support traditionally disadvantaged communities with their dollars, but also create a stable food system within the communities that are traditionally food insecure. So LEVO works with a variety of the sustainable development goals. Zero hunger is kind of one of our primary focus. We recognize that we can accomplish several of those development goals at the same time, but also it's impossible to approach zero hunger without attacking things like poverty or good health and well-being or quality education. And so our approach has been to use food security as our primary focus, but attack the different weak points along the way as well. COVID-19 has really been a major barrier, but it's also exposed a lot of the weaknesses that we all knew in the space that existed, but most people did not realize were there. It has really devastated, in particular, Haitian communities, Haiti has experienced a high level of political instability, both partially because of the pandemic, but also because of the political instability that exists regardless of the pandemic. And so high levels of unemployment and food insecurity and starvation have occurred in Haiti. One of the things that's really exciting about our hyperlocal approach is that our team in Haiti, despite the fact that technically we're a US-based organization, is all Haitian. And so we've been able to continue to expand and grow our operation and launch in programs in new regions. Because we focus on local partnership and local leadership, we have been able to bring resources to the table and technology to the table into communities that have lost that in the face of the pandemic, as many US-based organizations have shut down or shuttered their programs, which have kind of provide the essential support that communities need in Haiti. And so while overall it has been a tough several years for Haitian communities and US communities, we're excited about the possibility of creating sustainable food systems within both Haitian communities and US communities by leveraging our approach, that hyperlocal approach and that partnership-based approach.
Christian, you have 1 minute.
Great. So I'll touch quickly on the gender equality question. So our primary focus as an organization is not gender equality, but we recognize that it's a critical component of working with communities. And so what we have done, particularly in Haiti, is by working directly with households, you tend to work equally with men and women. Particularly, actually, in Haiti, we work more with women than we do with men, because the majority of household leaders in Haiti, particularly rural Haiti, are women. And so by providing households with the agricultural tools to grow their own produce, we're actually in many ways disproportionately affecting female heads of households by providing food security tools. The same thing actually applying here in the United States is that our new programs are actually hitting that focus, and we're ensuring that we are working with kind of an equal representation of men and women in our programs. And so that is is really exciting for us, because we're not necessarily focusing on that, but the model that we have developed targets that issue in kind of its fundamental principles.
Thank you so much, Christian, for your presentation. And I think LEVO International is an amazing example of how an NGO can provide technology and resources without being colonizing, without going into wherever they're operating and taking over. So that empowerment of local leadership is extremely important in achieving sustainable development, gender equality, and the like, and reducing inequalities in the meantime. I like how each of the panelists so far have connected these questions of food, wellness, and good education to the question of political stability and government's effectiveness in their jurisdictions. And I think it's really important to keep evaluating that. And I think, when the time comes when maybe governments will step up and support NGO operations more, there's still going to have to be that the local leadership that's happening from non-governmental sources to even out that dynamic. I also really appreciate that, you've seen a need in your own community in parallel to Haiti, rather than simply operating in Haiti, and seeing those local opportunities kind of wherever you're going and around the world. So thanks so much for your presentation. And I will turn it over to Lucy Taylor. Full disclosure, this is my aunt, so not biased towards her as a panelist though. But Lucy Adepoju Taylor is the director of 1212 Academy, and she brings experience with business management, project development, children's education, and food education to ensure that the programs are managed successfully and that children and their needs are placed first in food empowerment. She spends her time now running Virginia children's programs and My Simplicity Kitchen, which is a meal preparation company in Fairfax, Virginia. Previously, she has worked for both a nonprofit and the federal government of the United States, and she is a strong advocate for the prioritization of children and the infusion of innovation into education and activities for children. And she grew up in Nigeria, which gives her an international perspective and multicultural sensitivity that she brings to program development. She is also a proud mother. Lucy, I invite you to take the floor. You need to unmute. Lucy, you need to unmute. Lucy, you need to unmute, or maybe your microphone isn't working. All right, 1 second. I think. Don't know what's happening. So Lucy, we're waiting for you to unmute your microphone, but I think your audio must be off. Okay. All right, so don't know what technical issue came up there, but I think let's go to MJ and then loop back to Lucy. If that's all right with you, MJ. Sorry to put you on the spot. So we have MJ Park, who is the mother of 6 children, wife to Jerry Park, and a teacher. She is the co-founder and director of Little Friends for Peace, which is a nonprofit that helps to answer violence with skills for peace. MJ is passionate about helping to build a culture of peace using tools of nonviolence. For the last 41 years, MJ has been teaching peace to people of all ages. She believes if we want peace, we have to teach peace, and we need to begin with the self. And she tries to do so as a model. Peace is an inward journey and then outward. MJ and Jerry have written together a book called Live Peace, Teach Peace, Best Practices and Tools. LFP does work both locally in the United States and internationally through creating community partners. Peace is not for a day or a season, it is a way of life. And one powerful method they use to bring people together is the Peace Circle. So MJ, I invite you to take the floor. And again, sorry for putting you on the spot there.
That's okay. First of all, thank you, Michelle and Kirin, for inviting me to be here today. And thank you to all the panelists. I have been enriched by your presentations. And also, I am honored to spend some time this morning here in Washington, D.C., focusing on these pillars and charters of the United Nations and the opportunity for us to circle up and reflect on what we are doing and what is possible. And as Michelle and Kirin asked me to focus on the UN sustainable development at the local level and thinking about social development, I have really done some inward work to think about how LFFP has tried to look at the whole person, the whole child, and food, shelter, clothing, education, all of these needs to help develop social emotional wellness. So pre-pandemic and pandemic, and now post, as we hopefully go into that, how has LFFP been responding? So as Kirin said, as an educator, as someone who has spent a lot of my life focusing on social justice work, I became increasingly aware that it is so important for us to look at social emotional wellness in order to help people to go forward. So I have decided that anything is possible if we meet those needs for people. So as an educator, I have focused on best practices to help people feel safe, feel welcome, and feel that they can manage their emotions. And so we have developed a couple of tools. And I don't know, Kirin, if you're able to put up the slides now, I think that would be important. And as Kirin is doing that, I want to say that peace education has been something that has allowed us to be inclusive in welcoming all people from all different backgrounds, all ages. And as we do that, it becomes a model and as an opportunity for teachable moments. So gender equality, understanding people from diverse backgrounds and what are they going through, what are they thinking and feeling. So we have three important arches or pillars that we think matches with the UN's call for human rights. And I'll be pointing these out as we present. So here is just a few slides to kind of give you an overview of why LFFP has focused on peace education as an opportunity to help in the area of social emotional learning. And I want to say for all backgrounds, you'll see there myself holding up a map, and that is a group of students who are sports. And we have tried to find different ways to infuse peace education, so peace in sports, and help people understand themselves, navigate their relationships, and ultimately become productive citizens. And I know that the United Nations, from what I have read, human rights connections and how we feel, think, and behave is so important. So next slide. So the how of this has been something that I have spent a lot of my life as a mother of 6, as married to Jerry, who is Peace Corps, and he spent time in India. And both of us focused on tools. How can we help in all these different areas that we want to ultimately build a culture of peace? So you'll notice tools. The wellness wheel is where we start, as Kirin said, to go inward and check in with myself. What are my needs? Peace circles are safe places to bring people together, to help them connect and to explore what are their needs, what are they experiencing, and then what is a way to manage. And the peace train is a fun process that helps in conflict resolution and restorative justice, and to develop cooperative experiences. And this checks the boxes for helping people from diverse backgrounds come together and not just say, you know, you've got to accept or understand, but to provide these cooperative experiences where they can play games together, where they can cook and struggle and celebrate. The results, we all know that personal wellness is the place to start. We cannot give what we don't have. We cannot be productive. We cannot manage unless we're in a well state of mind, spirit, and body. I heard a report this morning about the state of our world, and it was related to COVID, but even pre-COVID, we were not doing well with healthy relationships, starting with self. So the focus now on schools is people cannot learn. Violence is escalating, and productivity is going down, and results are not there in a positive way. So we have to start focusing on health and wellness. Conflict resolution has always been a need, because conflict is a part of life. It is something that is not necessarily bad, but it's how we solve it. And we cannot use those tools of conflict resolution unless we are at a good state of mind, unless we've also explored who are other people, and this beautiful rainbow of cultures. We have to spend time getting to know one another, and then we will have the result we want, which is the global family, the peaceful, united nations. Next slide, please. So as LFFP has taken these tools, we have become aware that peace education is not necessarily a high priority in our schools. And around the world, I'm working in a refugee camp in Uganda, and they are saying, we need food, we need water, we need to heal from the trauma of war and become a community. So we are bringing our tools and practices there, but not telling people what to do, but to offer safe places for them to come together and to get to know themselves, get to know others. And out of that becomes the need for other tools. Notice the code words of care, share, cooperate, and shine, and then celebrate. Those are very basic formulas on social development, but we have to spend some time on that. And the other side, starting with ourselves, is our wellness wheel. Next slide, please. So as I infuse the program into schools and to community centers, and we've found that the Peace Circle is the place to start, because as we circle up and we connect with others, the power of the circle becomes the mirror into ourself and the connection to other people. So I'm thinking of El Salvador, where we brought our program and we created circles in the schools, in the community centers, in the churches, and even just on the streets, on the football field, the soccer field. And instead of saying the gang members cannot come, we said all are welcome, all backgrounds, all genders, all identities. And from that grew understanding and compassion for what people were experiencing. And out of that disarmament, that feeling of safety, of welcome, of, oh, you care about me, becomes an opportunity to connect and to find how can we help one another. So this is key in order to build those cultures of peace that I think is universal all around this beautiful planet. What are we all wanting? We are wanting to have peace, but the how is what LFFP focuses on. And how can we be universal? How can we count each person, no matter what state they're at? So our program also goes into jails, goes into detention centers, works with people who have been re-entered into society, who were incarcerated. Next slide, please. So these slides are taken a lot from a book that I wrote, Live Peace, Teach Peace, which is not theory or philosophical, but rather it's hands-on tools and practices that you can implement in all different spaces. I really wanted it to be tools that could be used for everyone. So notice that I think we have to rewire ourselves from some of the techniques that we might have been using that were not healthy practices. We're not considering some of the pillars here in these that were not inclusive. And
MJ, you have one more minute.
Okay, so notice there positive language, and on the other side to be LFFP is trauma informed. We know right now the COVID has added to some of the trauma that we already had. Next slide, please. So as I wrap up, I just want to say you'll see here more of the tools, more of the language, more of the activities that we use. And we do peace camps, and peace camps are that safe place for people to experience, learn, and practice, and to help people to understand themselves, understand others, and to really experience what does welcome mean, and what does it mean to take care of yourself and other people. And I think the last slide is coming. So as I wrap up, I really applaud the work of the United Nations. And I know that as we develop these different pillars and statements about what we can do to reach our goals, LFFP is focusing on peace education, and we'd love to partner with people that are working on the whole person, from food, shelter, clothing, and the mind, body, spirit, and the heart. So thank you for welcoming me, and I'd love to partner and to find ways to plant these seeds of peace, because I do believe that we can stitch this world back together, one initiative after another. Thank you.
Thank you so much, MJ. That was a wonderful presentation. And wow, like my mind is blowing, because I've always wanted to bring you to this platform. I've always, every time since I experienced the Peace Circles, Little Friends for Peace methodology, I found it so interesting how it's so important to cultivate the self, to be that person that can bring peace to the rest of the individuals or communities or families. So for me, it's very, very important that you are here with us today, and that the platform is listening to you. And I think that if we get to be in more conversations like this, in more spaces like this that are a safe space, where the best practices can be shared and be worked on, we would be aiming to have special leaders like yourself in the public positions, like the representatives of countries that are actually bringing peace instead of breaking the peace like we are seeing now in the international area. But thank you so much for your presentation. I think it's a great opportunity to reflect even in this moment for ourselves, what is our state of wellness and how can we bring this holistic approach to wellness in every situation that we encounter ourselves with, from trauma-informed education to destigmatization of mental health, to really try to develop ourselves and bring those conflict resolution skills into creating a positive peace, that it differs a lot with the concept that has been worked in many years, even in United Nations platform or worldwide, which is a peace that embraces the absence of conflict. And we are bringing this other concept with Miss MJ, that it's a positive peace, a peace that's active, that it's constantly try to bring the best selves into every situation, and in that way de-escalate conflicts, but also bring wellness to everyone that's surrounding you because you have that in you. So this is very, very important and very educative, and I think I could comment on this forever because I just love the work that you do. But I think we're getting into the time to be able to have the Q&A. So thank you, MJ, for presenting. And now I'm gonna pass it to Kirin so she can lead us into the Q&A questions. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you all for your amazing presentations. I love seeing like the parallel and the different work that NGOs are doing on the ground. And I think with the title of the panel, all of this is extremely innovative, great practices that the international community should be aware of. We are, running low on time. So one question that I think is important to address would be, as leaders of non-governmental organizations and in your work, what are the needs that you have? What are the gaps that need to be filled that could help support your missions? And so whoever would like to start, maybe Sylvia, if you have anything to say on this topic, we'd love to hear from you. I think like there's something going on with technology today. MJ, you can also go ahead and start.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think that for me, what would help is if we could do more things like this, where we elevate the beauty of the movements that are happening, that are doing the groundwork of the practical, from the beautiful work in Kenya with the arts and allowing the youth to have a voice and to be the solution, from the food and the gardening. I'm very moved by the innovative and creative ways. I admire Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s message that in order to create peace, it takes more creativity and energy to make peace than it does war. And I long for when we are going to take this holistic approach of peace education as a way of infusing a different world. The other methods we know are not working because there is imbalance in starting with mental health and social development, and people say, what's wrong? And I think Michelle summarized that beauty of the need for inner peace in order to do anything. And also the feeling of I count, I am a somebody. And so I guess I long for that to be the platform, both down the street where I live, a block from the capital of the US, where the senators and Congress people could circle up and hear these kinds of very basic human rights needs that will help all development and, be inclusive to each individual. And so I'm excited. My energy is going that the United Nations is a beautiful org, and these platforms of movement can help push the needle in a holistic, beautiful way.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I think from all of your comments, listening more to the needs on the ground and to these organizations is an amazing start. And I just love that idea of continuing to circle up. So we'll definitely keep that in mind in the future. Eric, would you like to say something?
Yes. Also, the other thing, for community-based organization, for them, they depend most of the time funding from either non-governmental organization or NGOs. And you find that a big challenge to most of our community-based organization in informal settlements or in Africa. So what we could emphasize more and continue advocating is that also the partners or the donors who want to work with the community directly, it's better they approach these organizations and make sure that also these organizations get funds to run their programs, so that to make sure that, because they are the organization now, understand more things in their community more than the non-governmental organization, because most of the non-governmental organizations are in offices just trying to come and work with community-based organizations there. So we could continue advocating for making sure that all these non-governmental organizations or funds from the government, and also make sure that maybe we champion more to tell the UN that in order to achieve all these SDGs, it's better you look for also for a direct way how we can fund these community-based organizations to make sure that they run and achieve, make sure that all these objectives or all these the objectives they are met because they are in line with their SDGs, they are funded so that work could be easier. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. And that, I think we could talk for hours about that question of funding non-governmental organizations. It's a huge stress and a huge, pressure. But as you said, Eric, framing and rewiring that mindset to know that anti-violence and sustainable development comes from the ground up is how we're going to change that as well. So thanks for that perspective. Christian or Sylvia, would either of you like to speak? Yeah, go ahead.
I think now I can talk. Yeah, sorry about that earlier. Yeah, I think that one of the main things is also continue questioning the power dynamics in the communities, within the organizations, within the different stakeholders. What are those power dynamics? What are they generating? And what is causing to the voices of the people, of the communities, of the women, of youth? So how we put these lenses, these specific lenses, to see those power dynamics, and how can be when we see them, it's easier to see how to transform them. So just to put those lenses all the time, whenever we are, it doesn't matter if it's in our work or in our personal life or anything, it's all the time, because those are the power dynamics that are generating inequality.
Thank you. Such an excellent point. And definitely tying back to Sustainable Development Goals 16 related to peaceful institutions and 10 with reducing inequalities. So we see the intersections of sustainable development so much just in this conversation. Christian, do you have any answer to that or any final words, since we are reaching our time limit?
Just one of the things that I would touch on is the kind of going off of what everyone else has said, is the kind of the focus on existing power structures and access to funding and resources and platforms. It was, for us, even as an organization, is one of the major barriers that we face, even in working and trying to partner with existing organizations and NGOs. The collaboration is the major gap that we face. Is working with organizations. A lot of times it feels like it's a zero-sum game, or it's viewed as a zero-sum game in working with communities, particularly with other NGOs. And so I think the biggest gap that we're trying to solve as an organization is collaboration and making sure that the different excellent organizations and the great work that we're doing can be complemented and added to.
Thank you so much. Yes, I hope that today was, considered by all of you a good opportunity to highlight the work that you're doing, the innovative work that you're doing on the ground and through your organizations. I will say that Lucy was unable to come back due to technical difficulty, so we'll do our best to disseminate what she would have said in the follow-up. And we will also do our best to get this recording before the eyes of decision makers and perhaps on UNTV if we're able to. And, your time and efforts spent all the time, all year round, hard work, and also today are greatly, greatly valued by so many people that I'm sure you don't hear that thanks as often as NGO workers need to. So thank you so much, all of you, for the services you provide and the innovative work you're doing. I'll just pass it over to Michelle for a last word.
Thank you. I think it's really important before we leave that if you guys want to share how can other people that are going to watch this video or that are already being participants in this video, how can they support you and support your projects, and how can they share your work? So if you have some social media contacts or any way from them to contact you guys, please share in the chat so we can keep on building these partnerships for the goals and keep this moving. And as final remarks, just want to say we are truly grateful to have you all here. It has been such an honor, and it has been so impactful for not only the people that are listening right now, but I think this is such an amazing work that's going to keep on moving and connecting people to actually actualize the international laws, which is what we need. And yes, we need peace building. We need to end hunger. We need to end poverty. We need to bring gender equality, quality education. And we are so happy that you guys are doing it, and we are doing it with you. So thank you so much. We are amazingly grateful for each one of you, and we wish you the best of lucks in each of your projects. Please stay in touch, and let's see how to connect all this and create more impactful work.